That's the sound of a padlock snapping shut on my own gate. The crunch of gravel under boots as some hired security walks away, leaving me trapped on my own property like a prisoner. Picture this. You're a stubborn 58-year-old widower who's fought for this land his whole life, minding your own business on property your grandfather left you. Then Victoria, with her clipboard and smug grin, brands your cabin unfit and literally locks you inside your own community. Big mistake. See, what Victoria and her cronies didn't bother to research was that weathered concrete bridge everyone uses to get in and out, the sole lifeline connecting 47 fancy homes to the outside world. Yeah, I own that. Every square inch. What would you do if neighbors locked you on your own land? My name is Ezra Blackwood, and 6 months ago I thought the worst thing that could happen to me already had. My wife Margaret died after 40 years of marriage, leaving me with a hole in my chest the size of Colorado. So I did what any broken man would do. I ran. Packed up our Denver suburban life and moved to my grandfather's old cabin in Pine Ridge Estates up in the mountains. 47 fancy homes dot the mountainside, all linked to the world by one concrete bridge. My concrete bridge, though I didn't know that yet. Most residents are weekend warriors or retirees playing mountain man with designer flannel. We had an informal HOA that handled snow plowing. Keyword hat. Enter Victoria Thornfield, 52, recently relocated from Denver with her smug lawyer husband Marcus and entitled son Bradley. Victoria brought one unshakable belief: she was born to rule over lesser mortals. Within 6 months, Victoria had engineered herself into HOA president. Her platform: elevating community standards. Translation: clearing out anyone who didn't fit her suburban fantasies. The click of her designer heels on my wooden porch announced her first visit. Cream-colored pantsuit, leather portfolio. Bradley smirking behind her like this was all some game. Mr. Blackwood, I'm here about your property compliance issues. I looked around my grandfather's 40 acres, hand-built log cabin, workshop where 3 generations had fixed everything from tractors to heartbreak. What issues? She flipped open that portfolio like a prosecutor. Your cabin needs fresh paint. The workshop is an eyesore. Those gardens are inappropriate for a community of this caliber. This cabin has been in my family for 80 years, I said quietly. My grandfather built it with his own hands. Victoria's smile was sharp as broken glass. We all have sentimental attachments, but progress requires sacrifice. The answer is no. She closed the portfolio with a snap. We'll see about that. 2 weeks later, an official envelope appeared. Anonymous complaints filed with Jefferson County about unpermitted structures. The county inspector explained every building needed current permits and architectural surveys. $3,200 in fees for buildings that had stood longer than most Pine Ridge residents had been alive. Victoria's first shot across the bow. But she wasn't done. She brought a surveyor, her brother-in-law naturally, to re-establish proper property boundaries. Within hours, Victoria's brother-in-law had discovered my property line was mysteriously 20 feet smaller than it had been for 80 years. By the next afternoon, a crew was installing an 8-foot privacy fence, not on the disputed line but 15 feet onto my land. The fence blocked my family's hiking trail and killed my workshop's morning sunlight. That evening I called Becker & Associates. Cost me $800, but by Friday morning I had ironclad proof Victoria's fence sat 15 feet inside my property line. But here's where my 40 years of engineering kicked in. When you've spent your career building bridges and dams, you learn the devil lives in old documentation everyone forgets about. Saturday morning I spent hours going through my grandfather's file boxes. Documents I hadn't touched since moving here revealed genuine treasure. Grandpa's original 1943 mining claim, complete with an exclusive easement for bridge and road maintenance. Monday morning at the courthouse confirmed what those documents suggested. Every legal filing since 1978 referred to the current concrete bridge as sitting on an existing private easement granted by East Blackwood Estate. I owned the bridge. Victoria, meanwhile, called an emergency HOA meeting, claiming I was in flagrant violation and demanding a $500 monthly fine. I stood up calmly. Victoria, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I walked to the front, pulling out my independent survey. This survey shows your fence is 15 feet onto my property. Victoria's face turned the color of a ripe tomato. That's impossible. What's impossible is how your brother-in-law got his surveying license. Cracker Jack box. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. The community has voted 7-2. Victoria slammed her laptop shut. You have 30 days to comply. I nodded and headed for the door, then turned back with a smile that had made opposing contractors nervous for 4 decades. Victoria, you might want to check who actually owns that bridge you drove over to get here tonight. Spoiler alert, it's not the HOA. The look of confusion and dawning horror on her face was worth every penny of those permit fees. Victoria's response was swift and petty. First came the mailbox war. My hand-carved wooden mailbox didn't meet aesthetic standards. I needed to replace it with an approved model from Mountain Vista Landscaping. I called them out of curiosity. The owner? Bradley Thornfield, Victoria's charming son. Price: $340 for what looked like a $40 plastic box. Then came the garbage games. Suddenly my pickup was being skipped due to route optimization. But here's where Victoria overplayed her hand. She started spreading rumors at Murphy's Diner loud enough for Sarah Chin, a property rights attorney, to overhear every word. Sarah called that afternoon. Mr. Blackwood, I couldn't help noticing some concerning harassment patterns. Want to discuss your legal options? While Victoria played mailbox dictator, I was building a case. Every interaction documented with military precision. But the real bombshell came when Sarah started digging into that bridge maintenance contract. County records showed $180,000 annually going to Pine Ridge Community Infrastructure LLC. Want to guess who owned that LLC? Victoria. For 15 years, she'd been stealing my bridge maintenance money. $2.7 million. Victoria's next move proved she'd completely lost her mind. Monday morning, I woke to the sound of construction. An electronic gate system being installed at our community entrance, complete with keypads and a guard shack. Victoria stood beside it directing workers like Napoleon deploying cannons. The kicker? My access code mysteriously expired that afternoon. I returned from a supply run to find myself locked out of my own community. Sorry sir, system error, the rent-a-cop said. Going to take several days to fix. This wasn't just harassment. Victoria had turned my home into Alcatraz, and I was the only prisoner. Deputy Martinez arrived within an hour. Ma'am, you can't imprison a property owner on his own land. That's false imprisonment, a felony. But here's where I played my nuclear option. While Victoria argued with the deputy, Sarah was filing emergency injunctions and serving notice to the Colorado Department of Transportation about irregularities in bridge maintenance payments. Within 48 hours, forensic accountant Williams was dissecting Pine Ridge's finances. What he found turned Victoria's petty crime spree into a federal case. Brother-in-law's surveying, $200,000 in phantom work. Son Bradley's landscaping, $150,000 in inflated contracts. Husband Marcus legal fees, $89,000 for routine paperwork. Combined with the bridge payments, Victoria had stolen over $3.5 million from her own neighbors. Friday night, the Pine Ridge Community Center looked like a cross between a town hall meeting and a public execution. 200 people packed into a space designed for 50, with TV crews and sheriff's deputies positioned strategically. Victoria arrived fashionably late in her Lexus, wearing a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than most residents' monthly mortgage payments. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, I've called this meeting to address malicious attacks against your elected leadership. The crowd erupted. Where's our money? Thief. That's enough. My voice cut through her babbling. The room fell silent as I walked to the front, holding a manila folder. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about a bridge. I pulled out my grandfather's 1943 mining claim documents. This proves my family has owned the bridge connecting Pine Ridge to the outside world for 81 years. Gasps rippled through the audience. Victoria's face went from confident to horrified. For the past 15 years, Colorado DOT has been paying bridge maintenance fees to Victoria's shell company. She's been stealing money that legally belongs to me. $2.7 million. The projector screen lit up with financial documents. The crowd's murmur turned into an angry roar. But that's not all. Mrs. Thornfield has been running a criminal enterprise disguised as community improvement. Total theft from community funds, $847,000 over 8 years. Victoria tried to interrupt. These are fabricated. Ma'am, Sheriff Martinez stepped forward with handcuffs gleaming. You have the right to remain silent. I'd suggest using it. The room erupted in applause as Martinez read Victoria her rights. Embezzlement, fraud, bribery, filing false police reports, racketeering. The metallic click of handcuffs closing around Victoria's wrists was the sweetest sound I'd heard since Margaret's laughter. "You can't do this," Victoria screamed. "Victoria," I called out. "You might want to save your energy. You're going to need a really good lawyer." County Commissioner Walsh took the podium. "Mr. Blackwood, what are your intentions regarding bridge access?" "The bridge will remain open. Pine Ridge will purchase proper ownership for fair market value, $50,000. That money will go into a community scholarship fund." The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. 1 month later, Victoria Thornfield stood in Jefferson County Court in an orange jumpsuit. She pleaded guilty rather than face trial. Judge Hamilton Gray showed no mercy. 3 years in state prison, $3.5 million in restitution, 500 hours of community service. The bridge renovation became Pine Ridge's greatest community project. Residents volunteered weekends, working together instead of fighting each other. The new HOA board implemented revolutionary concepts like competitive bidding, public financial records, and actual citizen participation. Property values increased 15% within 6 months. My personal transformation surprised everyone. Grief-induced isolation gave way to reluctant leadership. The workshop became an informal community center where neighbors solved problems by talking to each other. Victoria was released after 18 months, forced to live in a studio apartment and work retail, banned from serving on any board. She'd become a cautionary tale about unchecked power. As I sat on my porch watching sunset paint the peaks gold, Mrs. Holloway stopped by with fresh apple pie. "Ezra, that Arizona community needs you. Water rights this time." I looked at the bridge spanning the valley, now properly maintained and honestly governed. Time to help another community learn that sometimes the little guy wins, but only when they fight smart instead of fighting angry.